Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia, and welcome back to the Overwatch League Roundup. And it's the first League video of 2020. A happy new year if you haven't been around the channel already this year. And today what we're going to do is we're going to take 5 teams from the League that I think have the most to prove this year going into the 2020 season. Because there's been a lot of moves in this off-season, there's been a lot of changes to a lot of teams. And there's some teams that have got stuff to prove, like whether that's improvement on last season, whether that's proof that they actually are good, proof that their off-season changes have worked, because there are some teams that have made some very bold moves in this off-season, and it's kind of boom or bust. And they got to prove whether that's actually their scouting has been correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the Paris Eternal. Now the Paris Eternal have made some very interesting moves, and moves that's kind of come as, you know, chalk and cheese with some of the Paris Eternals following, because they have brought in a few Korean players. Very good Korean players. Sparkle, Hambin, Ji, Nosmite. Good players. And they come with a very good history. But they are merging these players with the likes of Soon and Nico and Cruz, Grey, Smex that they've also signed. So there's a mashup of European and Korean talent going on here. And they've got to prove that this is going to work under the new coaching staff at the Paris Eternal, which is all Korean. So it will be interesting to see how the European players of the Paris Eternal react to this. It could mean that if these European players don't react all that well to the Korean influx in the Paris Eternal, we could see the Paris Eternal transition to an all-Korean roster at some point. But the thing I want to see Paris Eternal prove, and the Philadelphia Fusion did this in 2018 in the inaugural season, can a mixed roster work? We have seen it work before with the Guangzhou Charge and the Philadelphia Fusion, as I said. If Paris make this roster work, it could be a really good roster going into next season. So there's stuff to prove for the Paris Eternal. I just wonder whether the whitewash of Korean coaching staff on the Paris Eternal might have a negative effect on the European players that were already at the Paris Eternal from last season. Next up is the Florida Mayhem. And let's be honest, the Florida Mayhem can't sink much lower than they have been in the past. Both seasons they have been near, if not bottom, of the league. And Florida, they've tried many different things and it hasn't worked. They've now transitioned to this all-Korean roster, which did show some promise at the end of Stage 4 in the season just gone. But they've added to that in the off-season with the signing of Yaki and Gangnam Jin, alongside new coaching lineup which has Docs, Insight and Kuki. A lot of runaway coaching talent and talent on the roster coming through here. And we know the pedigree of runaway players. We go on about it all the time, and it's basically the entire Vancouver Titans roster is built on runaway players, or it was anyway. So there is talent in this Florida Mayhem squad, and we saw flashes of good play from the likes of Fate, Gargoyle. We know about Sire player last season and before. So it feels like for once, for the first time perhaps, we have the building blocks of a Florida Mayhem team that at least is going to be mid-league, I would hope. But I want Florida Mayhem to prove it to me. I want Florida Mayhem to finally prove this year that they can be a team that can, you know, go fist to fist with the likes of the Philadelphia Fusion and teams, you know, perhaps even higher when I talk about the likes of perhaps Hangzhou Spark and stuff like that. They can really give these teams a game and they can make them know that they've been in a real tussle instead of just getting swept off the board like they have been in past seasons. Next up, we have the Vancouver Titans. Now, the Vancouver Titans had a very good first season in the league last year, even though they didn't quite win it, which was their ultimate goal, being runaway. But they were a slight bit off come the end of the season, and San Francisco Shock were just so darn good that there wasn't much anyone was going to do to stand in the San Francisco Shock's way, especially come through those playoffs. But the Vancouver Titans have made, again, some changes. And the big thing here is allowing Bumper to leave and bringing in Fisher. This is a big question mark for a lot of people. Fisher, obviously, we know, has a questionable temperament at times. Bumper, yes, he was a outlandish tank, shall we say. He was doing crazy stuff for the Vancouver Titans. But the thing is, because Vancouver Titans was wholly and solely that original runaway roster, it worked. They knew how to work with Bumper. Whereas when you look at Haxel, Somansu, Stitch, Janu, Slime, and Twilight, which are the remaining parts of that roster now, you have to say, are they going to settle in with Fisher? Are they really going to settle in with Fisher? And I'm not going to question Rouge Hong, who is also the other signing for the Vancouver Titans, because Rouge Hong will settle in anywhere he goes. Rouge Hong is the dad of Overwatch esports. He is a fantastic figurehead, and I really think he will offer some really good experience to this Vancouver Titans squad. Fisher, however, is the real link that needs to be proven here. If Fisher can return to the form that he showed for the LA Gladiators before he left them, how he turned that team around was magnificent. And if he can get back to that top main tank form that Fisher was on, Vancouver Titans could really, cause the shock problems this year. But if it goes wrong, it really could go wrong for Vancouver here. If they don't make any more signings before the season starts, they are running only one main tank, and that would be Fisher. So it's a boom or bust move for the Vancouver Titans, and I want them to prove the doubters wrong, but I don't know what will happen. It's very hard to predict. But talking of hard to predict, the number 2 team with a lot to prove is London Spitfire, because they are the team that has done pretty much what no one else has done in this off-season, and came as a surprise to a lot of people, and that is to completely overhaul their roster. Yes, London did not do as well as expected, coming off of their inaugural season win, and then finishing 7th in the league, and obviously getting pretty much stomped on by the shock when they got to the playoffs after getting through the play-ins. But they did get to the playoffs. But we knew that the London Spitfire squad had quality with the likes of Prophet, Birdring, Gesture. I could name the whole squad. Really, really good. And they've all got Overwatch League winners medals in their back pockets now. But to just, sweep that squad out, that is a bold move. Only Krillin remains. And Krillin didn't really feature all that much for the Spitfire last year. I can make arguments that Jester and Prophet perhaps wanted to go and play for Seoul because it is basically their home team. But when you let Fury go to the Philadelphia Fusion, that's a bold move. Fury is one of the best off tanks in the league. You are letting a big player go there. And not a lot of these players were that old either. So it's not just a case of bringing in new blood. But Spitfire made the decision not only to overhaul their roster, but to overhaul their coaching staff. And in my opinion, the coaching staff for the London Spitfire needed overhauling. Bringing in Pavane, Twinkle, an awesome guy, and promoting Agape to head coach. I think this is one of the best coaching lineups in the league. But when we look at their roster, Krillin, Banar, Fuse, Shui, JMac, Hailey, Sanguinar, Babel, Aldo, Gian, and Celestin, especially the last 4, they are virtually unknown players. And it is a boom or bust move from the Spitfire. It is a bold move. This is going to save them money. But it also could be an absolute masterclass in scouting for players. Again, and I've said this on Discord in a conversation about it. I shouldn't forget Glister as well. He's currently underage. But it's a boom or bust move. They've got some big DPS names like Shui and Glister. But the rest of the squad, you have to say, it's either going to go really badly, or it will be that masterclass in scouting that everyone will go, wow, London have done something magnificent here. So I have a lot of faith in the London coaching staff. I just wonder whether the roster leaves a little bit to be desired, and this is their final 12-man roster now, so nothing's going to change for the Spitfire from now on. It will be very interesting to see what happens in London in this 2020 season. A lot to prove. But the final team with a lot to prove, in my opinion, it's the team that I will always hate to predict. Because sometimes, or a lot of the time, when you look at their roster, you think, damn, this team has really improved. They've really, really improved. This team can push on and get back to where they were before the Overwatch League started. Of course, I'm talking about the Dallas Fuel. The Dallas Fuel obviously used to be envious, and they used to be one of the top teams in Overwatch. And then the Overwatch League came, and Dallas Fuel have never lived up to the hype. A lot like the Seoul Dynasty haven't, since they became the Seoul Dynasty coming from Lunatic High. And this year, they've made some moves again, bringing in Decay, Gamsu and Doa so far. They look like phenomenal signings, even though they've lost the likes of OGE. But I always have this question mark over Dallas Fuel, because I look at their players and I think, this is a team that can do well. I don't doubt that this team can do well. But then when it gets to the season, they let you down. And they let you down massively. A lot of the time. So this is the season. I hope that Dallas Fuel can go in, have that homestand, have those homestands as well. Go in and say, we're going to take the bull by the horns this season. We are not going to let people down. And that is the point I want Dallas Fuel to prove, not just to their own fans, but to the entire league. We are Dallas Fuel. We have a big heritage, and we are gonna do well. We are not gonna let you down this season, and that is what I want to see the Dallas Fuel do this season. It'll be interesting when we kick it off in just a month's time, nearly now. We are nearly at the exact month away from the start of the league. I believe the first homestand is in New York, which should be really, really interesting. But that is going to be it for my teams with points to prove in 2020. There will be a transfer roundup coming up very soon, because there is stuff to talk about, including changes in the talent for the Overwatch League this season. We will not be seeing Monte Cristo and Puckett returning for this season. Great losses to the casting team. It'll be interesting to see how that gets sorted with perhaps new talent coming in. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give it a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then.